I'm sorry to say this, but you'll have a really tough time nailing your favorite guitar player's guitar sound until you understand this rule and until you insert that last piece of the tone puzzle. Much like my buddy here, KVH, Kris Van Halen. Dude! Huh? I nailed it! The what? I nailed the EVH tone! I am practically Eddie now. Yeah, sure you are. Yeah, I mean, listen. No? Okay. Hey everyone, the name is Kris Barocsi, and today I wanted to talk about this very important detail when it comes to nailing our favorite guitar player's guitar tone, recorded guitar tone. And I understand why so many people ignore this, but it's still shocking how many people just don't think of that at all. Like, don't even consider this being a factor, even though it's pretty much 50% of the guitar tone. And I know that I talked about this earlier. I can't remember if it was on the Thomann channel or on this channel, if it was a Q&A or maybe a live stream or whatever it was, but this subject definitely deserves a dedicated video. So let's say you want to nail someone's guitar tone. I don't know, let's choose a guitar player. Let's say Slash, because it's a fairly simple rig. You wanna grab a Les Paul, I guess, right? You might want to grab pickups that have a very similar, well, he has a signature set, so you can't just go for the Anico 2s that he uses, or just some sort of a nice, not too hot PAF pickup combination that will get you fairly close already. And then, of course, a fitting Marshall, whatever type he was using in that era that you want to nail. Successful guitar players' rigs are all over the internet. You just type in Slash guitar rig, I don't know, 1990, whatever, and you'll find gear pages where they discuss all the details. So it's going to be fairly simple, which is great. But what they don't talk about, even if you spend a fortune on the actual replicas and original amps and this and that, you will still not exactly sound like Appetite for Destruction or whatever the album or era is that you're aiming for. You will sound fairly close, especially if you can pick like him, because that's again something that people tend to forget. But let's not get into this too much, because I mean that deserves its own video, and it's a whole different discussion. How the player plays until it's super high gain or super compressed will define the tone a lot, actually. Depending on a light picker, a heavy picker will have more or less gain with the same rig, same settings. If you pick a lot with like a hard pick, you turn that pick in an angle and pick closer to the bridge, it's gonna sound very different compared to a softer pick picked right above the neck pickup. So that is already gonna be a thing. And also the phrasing, of course. If you have someone's vibrato, if you can nail someone's vibrato or phrasing, that is gonna take you so far, like in the right direction, if you want to nail that kind of sound. Let's ignore the player for a second. You have Slash's rig, you still only have like 50-60%, whatever the exact percentage is, of that sound, because the recording rig is missing. And that is here the crucial point. That's what this video is really all about. It's the second section of that guitar rig, which is not a guitar rig at this point anymore. It's the recording rig. Which mic or mics? Where were those mics placed? What was the preamp? Was there any sort of a compressor on, a studio compressor? What's the mixer, type? Is it an SSL? Is it a Neve? Is it something budget friendly? The preamps, the mix, then the EQing in the mix, then the mastering, which is going to be a multi-band compression again and some EQing. All of those things change so much about your guitar tone that can make it sound aggressive and presence heavy, even though your guitar sound was really sweet and lush and not at all treble heavy. Or the opposite. It can scoop your sound. It can push the mids like hell, even though your guitar rig did not have those mid frequencies, because they just push those in the mixing phase, because that worked better with the song. These things are so crucial, so important. And if you want to nail Eddie's guitar sound, it's not enough to grab a replica of his guitar, his Frankenstein humbucker pickup, his amp, blah blah blah, the EP3 for the preamp and for the delay. It's gonna take you very far, but you still will have to record your rig the same way as they recorded it, and pan the delay on the right side and take the fairly dry guitar sound on the left side and listen to that and compare that with the original recording. That is how you can get really, really close to the actual sound that inspired you to pick up the guitar. Maybe your guitar rig, purely your raw guitar rig, the sound that comes out of your guitar cabinet or your combo, is just gonna be a part of that sound. That is so underrated. No one really talks about how those guitar sounds were recorded, mixed, and mostly because we're guitar players, so we don't, it's not our business, right? Recording stuff, that's something for engineers. It's not our job to worry about that. But if we want to nail a recorded guitar sound, whether it's a live recording, an album recording, a rehearsal snippet, whatever it is, it really comes down to how close is okay, how close you want to get. And I know people who went down this rabbit hole a little too far to a point where nothing is good enough and wanted to nail whoever's guitar sound. And I mean, Pink Floyd, those kind of sounds are one of those where people go crazy about and want to nail it exactly, or John Mayer, or like I don't know, Shadows, and like so many legendary players and inspiration. Hendrix, I mean, come on, right? It's impossible. Even if you took like a late 60s original Strat, one Hendrix would have played, a proper Marshall from that era, and an old fuzz face, and like all those things, you would still not sound like Jimi Hendrix's recording. You would maybe sound like he sounded live before someone put a mic in front of his cabinet. That is just, and I think the closest you can get to a recorded guitar rig is with amp simulations, plugins, Kempers, whatever like Line 6 Helixes and such, because those will give you the full signal chain, not just the guitar rig, but also the mic simulation, of course. You can put EQ and compression after that. Like, you can actually produce your guitar sound, pan stuff in a way that only studios would allow you to do. Let's not discuss how close digital emulation will get to a real deal, analog guitar rig recorded in a $100 million studio, whatever. That's a different discussion. But if you want to nail certain details of a guitar sound, then I guess a modeler or some sort of an amp simulation or plugins or whatever can get you kind of closer to certain guitar sounds. And what I would recommend everyone is to, of course, get inspired by our guitar heroes, playing and sound and everything, and get as close as you want to, if you even want to, but don't go down that rabbit hole too far. I mean, to me, this is close enough to an EVH vibe. And I know that it's all wrong, the delay time and that phaser and the whatever intensity of the modulation is like not like. I don't care. If I'm like 60-70% there, that's more than enough. Being an exact copy of a person can be real fun. Like, I respect someone who can do SRV in a way where you say like, come on, is he still alive? This sounds 100% like him. It's really like, I respect that so much. But I don't know, to most of us, I think it's just more inspiring to get close to our heroes and then go our own ways. That's what comes naturally. And I think that's worth a lot. All right. See you down there in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this subject. And see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.